The best thing that can happen to you as a fashion designer is actually pattern drafting. And I don't mean all those complicated things. Yes, you can do all those things, but I mean transferring your designs from paper to the fabric. And it can actually save you from a lot of errors and stress. Even if it's old newspapers, please make use of them. This is what I did exactly that saved me from the mistake. I noticed the mistake while drafting, and imagine if it was on the fabric, it would have been too late and I would have wasted that fabric. I hope you understand me. So what I'm going to first do here is that I have my basic bodice pattern with my basic darts all drafted on this paper. If you want something like that, please just check through my page. I have one very easy short tutorial on how to draft a basic bodice pattern. What I'm doing here is that I labeled everything accordingly. On my shoulder, SH to my chest line, to my bust line, my under bust, and my half length. Now what I'm going to do is that I marked my armhole measurement, full armhole measurement, which is 9 inches, and I'm going to take half of it, which is 4.5 inches. At that 4.5 inches, I'm going to mark slanted downwards, not horizontally. So you're going to mark slanted downwards. You can see what I did there. I'm going to come down by 1 inch on the bust line. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch on the bust line, right? And then I'm going to connect from the armhole. You can use your free hand, you can use this measuring tool, anything. I'm going to come down, and you can see that it's already forming a curve at that point. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to be cancelling the midpoint of my dart. You know, at the dart point we have a midpoint, right? I'm going to be cancelling the midpoint. I did not cancel any other thing but the midpoint, and from that midpoint now I'm going to mark 2 inches 2 inches on the under bust, 2 inches on the half length, and I'm going to connect it straight upwards. So after that, now I'm going to connect with a curved measurement. You can use your free hand still for this. I'm going to connect from that point that I marked below the bust line. I'm going to connect it to my under bust, and that's how I'll create something that looks like a breast pattern. So the next thing I'm going to do, which I should have done earlier, is that at my armhole I am going to create a dart there. For that's what makes it a Princess Bustier pattern. So I'm going to create a dart there, also facing slanted downwards, 1 inch below the original dart line and 1 inch above it, right? So I'm going to connect it to 1 inch above my bust line. That's what I'm gonna do. And then I will come 1 inch above that same bust line. This to avoid, you know, having too many lines just intersecting each other and making it look icky. So I'll connect it to above my bust line, connect it to above my bust line. That's just what I'm gonna do here. Next, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches from the original. So this was just a new method that I tried. I said I was going to try out. I said I was just going to film it to see if it works out. So it worked out. It worked out perfectly. But if you know that you are going to get confused with this, maybe you can watch one of my other videos that just uses a much simpler method. So I just measured so it's like I'm adding 1.5 inches to the shoulder, but I'm not marking it upwards. So now from that shoulder, from that armhole, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch outwards again, and then it's like I'm creating a new armhole entirely. Right, I'm creating an entirely new armhole from this 1.5 inch. So the way you create a new armhole, just mark your shoulder slope, right? Mark half inch inwards, right? So you see what I'm doing there, and just sloping it downwards. Just see. Now I'm going to connect it with. I'll connect it with what we already have there. Do you see that? So I noticed that this pattern now became too long because, take note, I made a mistake here. Instead of me to use the 1 inch that I removed, right, that is below the original pattern. So you know that I removed 1 inch above and 1 inch below in the armhole. I didn't use that pattern. It was an oversight. So if I had used that pattern, it might not have been longer. Do you understand? So if I had used that 1 inch below, I hope you guys are understanding me. If I had used it, it would have most likely come out perfect, because that was the only thing. It was longer. Every other thing was okay. When I did the joining, every other thing was okay. It was for my sister's clothes. I hope I'll be able to show you maybe when I'm doing it again. So if you guys are following me, this is the only part that you're going to do, that you're going to work on. The under parts, you're not going to be creating, not like you're creating a new shoulder or you're adding a new shoulder. You're just creating a new 1.5 inches from the original shoulder measurement to get that under part, right? Because you know that you've taken out of the armhole, in this my case now, I've taken 1 inch out of the armhole and I need to replace it. So what I'm now going to do afterwards is that I'm going to remove all the darts that I've taken and I'm going to add it to my allowance. So you know I added 2 inches allowance before, but at this top part now I've taken 1 inch, so it will be my original measurement plus 2 inches allowance plus 1 inch dart allowance. Then on my waistline it's going to be original measurement, that is original measurement for my waist is 26, right? And then that's divided by 4. 26 divided by 4 is going to be 6.5, right? 6 point something, and I'll add 2 inches, that's 8 point something. I'll add 2 inches again for the dart allowance, 2 inches sewing allowance, and then I'll add 2 inches dart allowance. So after connecting the point straight line, right, after connecting bust to waist vertically, I'm going to take my measurement, vertical measurement, which is 9 inches, and then above the bust line I'm going to mark 1 inch upwards, just right above the bust line. Mark 1 inch upwards and connect it slanted down to the bust line. I'm already cutting now. I'll cut everything and make sure that everything works out. It was when I got to this point of cutting that I noticed the error. So if you can watch me closely, you see that I was cutting out the dart that I took at the armhole. I was trying to cut it out because that was what my brain was processing. But when I got there, I noticed that, oh my goodness, I had done the wrong thing. But I wanted to see if removing just 1 inch dart at the armhole makes a difference, and it didn't really make a difference. So it was still fitting well, although, as I said, the shorter part of the princess dart, that's the part that carries like the bust curve, was longer. It was longer at the armhole, and that doesn't really make much of a difference if you can trim it neatly. Trim the armhole neatly. Again, I hope you're taking note of how I trimmed the bust dart that I created. You know that point where I came up on the bust line and I connected it to the bust point. So you see the way I trimmed it and sellotaped it. That is the way you're going to do it. You know, you cannot do that kind of thing directly on your pattern, on your fabric rather. So this is how I created my princess dart pattern, right? So I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the other excess parts, right? I'm going to remove the dart and I'm going to remove so I was trying to measure it here to see if it still works, and I was like, okay, this can work, this works perfectly. That's basically it. I lost the video to the back pattern of this fabric, and I said I'm at liberty to recreate any video of my choice, so I'm gonna do that happily. Not too happily, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So I ended up cutting everything out, and there's no back pattern. I hope this, you can use a normal back pattern. There's a princess dart for a back pattern, but you can use there were years that I used to use normal back pattern, like with normal straight darts, and I used to use it for the pattern back side of my clothes. So you see me cutting everything here carefully. I hope this pattern works out for you. I sincerely hope it does, like it did for me. And if you didn't understand most things, please feel free to ask questions in the comments. I don't say this often, but please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Bye.